Hey everybody, it's finally happened. I finally cleared Armageddon. Boy, was this a pain in the butt. And to be honest, my party has not changed since day one of Armageddon. It's just a matter of clearing it. But this is the first quest where you had to actually hit your friendly units to be able to do extra damage. So basically, you need to make sure that you hit them first. Now, as you can see, I already screwed up on the first time. There is a way to hit that second character to get into in between those two mech birds, but I screwed that up. So hey, it's all about improvisation here. Now, luckily I get that pinch on the top left. I was of course aiming for that top right pinch, but that's alright. Now, another theme for this quest is the sleep meteors. You need to make sure to wake up your friendly units so that the next person in line is actually awake. If you don't, you're going to waste a turn, and those turns are precious in this Bakuzetsu. Because these Triceratops, they actually explode for lethal amounts of damage. I think you need an immense amount of HP to survive those. So that's a pain. That's why dead rabbits became so much more popular, because they are perfect for the stage. They are slayers for those Triceratops, so it makes it much easier to clean them up. Now, second stage, if you clear that first stage perfectly, you're actually set up really nicely to taking out those those dragons in the middle. I forget their name. But again, since I had to improvise, it's all about recovering from that. So luckily Kushinada 0 was able to get that pinch on the bottom left between those mech birds. So here, make sure you gotta hit your next monster, which is Emerald, to wake them up so that we don't waste a turn. Got lucky to get that bottom right pinch, and actually with those mech birds gone, it makes this stage a lot more easier. No more worries about those powerful laser attacks, and we can focus on getting rid of those dragons in the middle and or Armageddon herself. I have no idea how those dead rabbits got past. Usually that should be able to pinch, but whatever. We're gonna focus on some damage onto Armageddon since that weak point is right there. And luckily my friend's dead rabbit has the soul badge that prevents them from falling asleep, so did not have to worry about that at all. And the advantage to that is that you just don't have to waste a turn making sure you wake up a monster, because the last thing you want to do on this stage is to waste a turn because your monster is asleep. There's just way too much damage and HP in terms of the boss that you cannot afford to lose a turn that way. So again, we got to make sure that Kushinada 0 at the very least is awake, so that's why I had to go that way. But luckily, since I woke everybody up, we can just focus on dealing damage onto Armageddon here. And you can survive that pulsing attack in the middle, but you have to be positioned away from Armageddon and just be lucky in terms of positioning, because it does do a lethal amount of damage if you're close up. That's a guaranteed death, and even if you're far away, it's all about positioning, whether you get lucky or not. Now this stage, you want to take out these snakes as soon as possible because they will call down mech birds. It's not really anything lethal to worry about, but it does. I mean, lasers fire at you every single turn. It hurts. Got a nice pinch there with dead rabbits, so we move on to the next stage. Now this stage is a stage where I die a lot, and personally I am not afraid to use my strike shots here anymore, because Skilla, I think, he'll kind of call down a pair of these Triceratops, and these Triceratops, there's 2 on the bottom and bottom left, and 2 on the top and the top right, and those are called down randomly. Now the problem is positioning to get rid of them can be really difficult. If you're in a bad position, you might be stuck. As you can see here, that Emerald had a little bit of a hard time, so because there's 2 on the cooldown, gonna use the dead rabbit strike shot to make sure we get rid of both of them as much as possible. A little unlucky that that bottom one didn't go away. So we need to get rid of that Triceratops this turn, or we are dead. This is a dead run, but luckily had enough hits there to take him out. So we get a turn to just focus onto this guy. And at this point, when you're at this low HP, you can now ignore the Triceratops. You're just going to want to focus on taking down this mini boss. Once you take down the mini boss, the Triceratops will run away, so that's good. And the mini boss here itself has a very powerful attack if you let it up for too long, so getting rid of him quick is also important. So luckily we were able to punch that weak point and call it a round. Now this one, again, trying to clear off the mech birds is going to be super helpful. How it only got rid of one, I have no idea, but the damage adds up if you leave them around for too long. So a nice pinch there, and now we can really focus on the boss. We can take out that last mech bird, but to be honest, Armageddon does have a good amount of HP here, so if you're not focusing on him quickly, you're gonna run out of turns and call it goodbye. Again, if you are far away enough from Armageddon, it is possible to survive that pulsing attack, but definitely not something you want to rely on. And so let's see, Nachos is awake, so at least we don't have to worry about waking him up. But as you saw, Emerald was asleep, so might as well wake her up and then see if we can deal damage to Armageddon. A little bit weird pathing there. I feel like could have gone horizontal to try and get some damage in there. Nice pinch match shot maybe with Emerald there. So okay, so here we're gonna want to make sure that we hit Kushi 0 at the very least. I think got a little lucky there with that irregular bounce. So we don't waste a turn. Now in turn, Kushi 0 needs to wake up Nachos. And well, hey, let's just kill the boss. That's fine. Alright, boss stage, here we go. Now I feel like I died most of the time on the first boss stage. Getting rid of these 4 Triceratops is really difficult. Yeah. So gonna strike shot right away so that we try and get rid of both of those Triceratops on the left. It is pinchable, but you saw that I missed the pinch, but luckily the other movements was good enough to take care of them. And now it's a matter of, can we pinch these 2 Triceratops on the top and bottom? And luckily we got wedged on the top for that one. So we're going to see if we can do the same for the bottom with dead rabbits. Unfortunately not, but again, since dead rabbits have the Slayer against the Triceratops, it isn't necessary to be able to deal a good amount of damage to it. And what you don't want to do is push Armageddon beyond its gauge before getting rid of all of those Triceratops. There's just too much to worry about if you end up doing it. And so now it's a race against the clock. You have until that top number to push Armageddon beyond its gauge. If you can get a pinch there, that's the best. But again, I was a little worried about not making it. So again, at this point, I am not afraid to use strike shots early. Again, if you do it early enough, you have a chance to pulling it at the last gauge. So might as well do it now. That's how much I failed on this stage. But luckily, since we pushed it beyond the gauge, now we have another lease on life here, and just focus damage by trying to get in between the walls and Armageddon. Running those here, so again we're gonna strike shot Emerald has a bash strike shot, so it's really good for clearing the minions if you run out of time. If you run out of time, that's a great way to take out a certain target. Again, just want to be a little more safe there, so used 3 strike shots. Now this stage, pinching these dragons will be super helpful in just, again, you only have to worry about the boss. That is your ideal situation. Kushi 0. I mean, I think ideally if I was able to get under Armageddon there, that would have been nice. Again, let's make sure that Emerald is awake so that we don't waste a turn. And everybody's awake, so now we can just focus on, I don't know, probably not necessary to take out that last dragon. I don't know. It's always good to get a clean board so you know what you're focusing on. And kind of a lucky bounce there so that we deal some damage to Armageddon. So now we're in that final countdown. We've got 3 turns to push Armageddon beyond its gauge marker there. And just hoping to get in on the side there. We do, and this should be good enough to at least guarantee us pushing it beyond the gauge. If we can nudge people on the bottom left corner, that's great because that's where a lot of the weak points end up being. And alright, so again, let's take a look. So Dead Rabbits isn't asleep, so technically we don't have to worry about it, but again, if you wake up everybody early, then you don't have to worry about hitting them the next turn. So Dead Rabbits, okay, hoping for some weak point damage, and got bounced out in the other direction. Kind of a bummer, but luckily it's been 3 turns, so Nachos naturally awakes himself. And Kushi 0 didn't really do her thing. And actually that was a little bit dangerous because Kushi was on top of Nachos, so there is a chance that Nachos would have been affected by that sleep meteor too, and I would have lost this turn, but luckily that didn't happen. And those homing missiles do a ridiculous amount of damage, especially if you're not a wood type. That was scary. But luckily, this should just mean 1 tap, even with the bomb combo, is good enough. Now, ideally, you want to end up on the bottom of this stage, and everybody's on the bottom, which makes me super happy, because that's where the snake is that calls down more of these Triceratops. There's also a Triceratops already there. So strike shot, I just want to get rid of these guys. But unfortunately, only got rid of 1. I mean, 1's better than none, that's for sure. Now it's a matter of, okay, how can we get rid of either the Triceratops or that snake? Unfortunately, neither happened. So now I'm starting to panic a little bit. I've seen this pattern before. Again, you need to be able to hit somebody first before being able to do damage. So Emerald wasn't in a position to use her strike shot, but luckily got rid of the Triceratops on the bottom, which means, okay, we gotta use our strike shot now before that snake calls in more, and hopefully, ideally, we would have gotten rid of that Triceratops on the top right too. That didn't happen. So now just going up and down to dish damage, and just barely not enough. So that's concerning. Just hoping I get around to hit the Triceratops enough to get rid of him, and luckily it happened. That was honestly a little scary. Strike shot, I have access to the weak point, so why not? Great. 11 million damage. That is excellent. So now we've got Dead Rabbit here. Hopefully she can get stuck on top of Armageddon here. And yes, she does. Another 13 million damage, and her strike shot barrier absorbing all of those homings, which is really nice. Hoping to get up there with Kushi Zero, and yes, she's able to do 10 million plus damage. And last but not least, Nachos. That's right, gonna turn you into taco ingredients. And yes, it is my victory. Whew. Boy, that was a long journey. And honestly, I have been playing this party from day one, and it just finally worked out. Took you a screenshot even. And I mean, yeah, this quest is literally what what's been teaching me. Don't hold on to your strike shots. Use them when you need to. If you do it early enough, they'll be back for you, just as they were for this stage. And yeah, I got 2 drops, which is great. So this is another one of those quests where I probably will never run again. That was a long journey. But yeah, that's it for Armageddon. Thank you for watching, and until next time, bye bye.